This is the In My Trauma podcast. I am Ayana, here with my brother,
Ayana's brother,
Hakeem, with the shirt that says so.
in the flesh.
Right?
You know the vibes.
This is our kickoff. It's Juneteenth. A good day to be free. 2024, and it's the first episode of our podcast. We're here in Hakeem's backyard, a landowning. Maybe the best.
Yeah.
The best celebration of this day.
Landed gentry.
Right. Person who owns some land. Mm-hmm. Black person with some land.
Can you imagine if they were prescribing crack instead of Zoloft?
What would that do to society?
I don't know that we would have, I think Gen Z wouldn't be quiet quitting like they are. We'd have a much more productive, younger class.
Whoa. I was curious how long it would take for us to get to Gen Z slander. I am Gen Z cusp, or I guess the older edge. Okay, so you're saying they're not productive? I think they are productive.
No, they're productive in ways that are good for society, not good for, business, which is good, Yeah. We need a little bit of that balance.
I think what you might have been hitting on too, I think they're a bit conflict avoidant. I wonder if, in terms of quiet quitting and all that, like if you're on crack rather than Zoloft, you're going out with a bang and not a whistle.
Yeah.
You're flipping tables, you're who's coming with me type shit.
Mm-hmm. At the very least, you find out how to make $5.
This is true. This is true. Wait. Now I'm curious what the effects, now I'm just like, what would the effect of lots of people being on crack have on society?
I mean, I think we have a perfect case study in the 1980s and early 1990s. I think we actually saw how that played out
in real time.
Everyone was on crack. I saw an article the other day.
Wait, I was going to say people were really happy. You're down to everyone was on crack, which is hyperbolic to say the least. But keep going. You're watching what?
No, I saw this article. I think Complex put out an article. It was like 10 most successful crackheads of all time.
Oh my god!
And can you guess who number one was? You'll never guess it. You'll never guess it.
Was it a politician?
No, not a politician.
But a public figure.
An extremely public figure, like wildly.
Is it
You're not gonna guess it.
Wait, is it a person that we all know?
Yes, everybody in the world knows who this person is.
And they're dead.
No, they're alive. They're very much alive.
Oh, shit. Okay. I was just assuming a bunch of crack in the 80s, you're not making it to 2024.
No, this person is very much alive.
Forgive me.
This person has their own television network.
Ooh. Is it Oprah?
It was Oprah.
Wait.
Complex coming in hot with that slander. I don't know.
Yeah,
I have to assume her legal team sent them a cease and desist.
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't even.
But she is on record saying, she used to get down.
Okay.
Call her Oprah Hot Hands.
You heard it here first, or if you're an avid Complex reader, you heard it here second. That's insane.
Yeah. That's why she's so successful.
Oh my god.
She got that work ethic.
If you want to be successful, do a little crack. Not too much, but just a little.
It's going to give you a taste for more. So.
It'll motivate you.
Exactly.
Everybody needs their why.
Exactly.
We all need a why. Mm-hmm. That's crazy.
Yeah, they had some wild names on there, but hers was the most unexpected one.
Yeah, okay. That's interesting, too, because she's so publicly been in this kind of conversation about her weight and up and down. I wonder if that was a low point in her weight, because she did run a marathon, and they put a bunch of, people generally are not overweight on crack.
It happens, but it's not common.
I'm not familiar
It's not the common. I think if you're a recreational crack smoker, you can be a little overweight, but if you're really committed to it, you're probably not going to be.
So word to that Columbia professor, you think you could be a recreational crack smoker?
I personally do not, but I'm not an expert on the subject.
Because now it seems like there's evidence that you can.
It was the 80s.
It's the 80s.
I think there were a lot more people on crack than we like to imagine, who were at least dabbling.
Okay.
It was like weed is today, from what I understand.
Okay, I feel like even that statement right there, people trying to say that, today is, things are going south, things are not as good as
Things
they
are
were
not
in the
going
10th.
south.
Yeah, the fact that you could dabble in crack. I feel like we've come a long way. We've come a long way.
I watched a movie the other day where Javi Keitel was just doing crack and heroin the whole movie, and it didn't really seem that off for the time. I was like, this kind of feels like probably how things were in 1991 in New York.
Oh, wow. Well, New York feels like any time in its entire history, anything could happen.
Yeah.
But, sure.
But no, I think, you can't convince me that things are worse now than they were
Yeah, no.
in the late 80s and early 90s.
Yes.
People were dropping like flies off the speedballs mix.
Okay, but also, you're quick to say if I was, an adult in the 90s, I would have 12 houses by
I would.
So that's maybe the one thing that was better, perhaps, is you could get
I'm not arguing that.
You're not saying across the board,
No, not across the board.
Culturally.
Yeah, I'm saying from
we're in a better place.
societal health.
Yeah.
Generally speaking. Actually, maybe I might have to walk that.
Ah!
The fentanyl is going crazy these days. And
Stay safe.
Stay safe. And there's a lot of mental health issues. I think those issues were going on back then. I think people just weren't aware of them and were doing crack to cope with it.
You're right. To quell what they were going through. I saw a lady say, this lady, I think it's okay for her to be talking into her front camera. She was like, I'm a mentally healthy person, and then kept talking, and somebody commented, I thought this was satire. So then she had to make another video about how it wasn't satire, that she said, I am mentally healthy. But I was like,
so I was going to say, is that not for someone else to determine? Do you get to just go out into the world and be like,
let me tell you,
I'm mentally healthy? Because you very well might not be. You might be unhinged.
But at that point, does it matter? If in your...
I think it does.
I'll tell you her ex...
I actually will go so far as to say it definitely does. If you are the only person who thinks you're mentally healthy and no one else around you does, you probably aren't. That's
like
not
the Emperor's New Clothes.
That's not an I think, therefore I am.
You're walking around naked and saying everyone thinks I have on clothes.
Yeah, exactly.
But let me say, her explanation was, for mentally healthy, she was like, I feel safe in my own head. She was like, my head is a healthy place to be. I'm happy in my thoughts. Like, I can... I don't think that's that wild. I think a lot of people who are talking to the front camera do not feel happy in their head.
I'll never understand the crying to the front camera thing. That to me just seems very desperate for click. That's just clickbait. It feels like crying to the front camera.
I think there's an interesting...
what's the 90s equivalent of crying to the front camera?
You gotta call somebody.
Public access television show?
Yeah, or radio. I guess people were still crying on the radio, but that doesn't have the same effect. Okay, we should get into where were the cameras? They put one camera in Times Square and one...
The portal?
Yeah,
it was the other one, I think, was in Ireland.
What do you think the vibe would be if you just got in the portal and started crying? Hard send on the crying into the...
I don't know. That would
shake the table a little bit.
It would shake the table. That would feel very,
performance art.
Dystopian film.
Yeah.
That could be a concept. What's the movie where the guy falls in love with his computer, with his operating system?
Yeah.
That feels like one step removed from that.
I saw a man watch Set It Off on a plane, which felt like a big kind of leap on a plane.
No, that's a fine movie to watch on a plane.
A lot of bad things happen.
Bad things happening is fine. I think you can watch a movie on a plane where bad things happen.
What is the etiquette?
You just can't watch a movie on a plane if there is a child within eyes distance of you where there's vulgar things happening.
Okay,
so you can have my rule, if there's a child within eyesight of my screen, there can't be anything wildly sexual happening on the screen.
Okay.
But there can be violence. There can be violence,
there can be a shootout where a person basically dies by execution-style gunfire.
Talk about getting in my trauma. we all see violence every day in the world.
Okay.
So if a little kid sees a little violence on a tiny, 8x6 screen behind a headrest, that's fine.
Right.
sex, I don't think you should be letting the little kids see that over your shoulder
Right.
in a movie, like a a confined space like that. But violence is violence. That happens.
Okay, that's right. You're saying anything you might see by accident scrolling, like the media feed, the social feed, you will put on your TV screen.
Exactly.
So you don't care about. So if you happen to be seated beside like a conservative old person, you're like thinking, and no kids around, but an old person.
Fuck that old person. They live their life.
We should talk about a steep rise in ageism. I feel like
I started ageism.
You were on the vanguard.
I made ageism cool again.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, it is. A lot of people, a lot of my friends are really on that fuck old people vibe.
I'm on old people get the respect that they deserve. Because there are some cool old people. Some old people are cool as shit.
Okay.
Some old people are real assholes and deserve to be treated as such. Okay. So that's my approach. I meet a lot of old people in my day-to-day life.
Exactly.
And I would say about half of them are, I'm out on the golf course. I'm, out rubbing elbows.
Making deals. Making deals.
All that good shit.
Yeah.
So I would say it's 50-50. Half the old people you meet are like cool old people, got a nice old person story.
Right.
They want to relate. They want to hear what the young people are doing. They'll give you a little compliment, tell you you're like an old soul or something like that. Yeah. But then other old people just want to fucking hear themselves talk.
But is that not the same as most people in the world? Like, is it really that bad that old people are getting a bad rap? Because I can go out in the world and pretty much 50-50.
No, it's fine, but it's also that old people are hoarding a lot of the wealth right now.
Okay,
so I don't really
that's really the crux of it, then.
Yeah,
it's not really personality. It's partially personality and also partially the mark that they've left on.
I feel like your financial status can impact your personality. Like
for sure.
Nobody likes a rich person going around talking about how rich they are or all the shit they have. But if you don't really have anything and you're like, oh, I got this other thing yesterday, people are gonna be like, oh, okay, cool, that's good for you.
Yeah.
But if it's your house in 1960 for $7 and you're still hoarding it. Nobody really wants to hear your opinions on a Tesla.
Okay, so if you're down on your luck and something good happens to you, people will be happy for you?
I think so.
But if you are up and something happens to you, keep it quiet. Keep that shit to yourself.
I think generally that's how people would like for things to play out.
Okay. And is that hating?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, okay.
That is hating.
In our trauma.
Yeah.
In our trauma, I think it's okay to hate. And I think people are pretty much on the same page about it.
I mean, it's natural. Like, it's, I feel like that's why they put it in the Old Testament.
Where? Where is that?
Is that not one of the 10 Commandments? Thou shalt not hate.
I thought you were making a pro-hate statement.
No, that's not.
Based in the word, shall not hate.
I don't think that's actually a 10 Commandment, but I think it's captured in some of the other ones.
Thou shalt not pocket watch.
Yeah.
If you could rewrite the 10 Commandments, do you have a vibe for that?
That's a little deep. We could go deep, or we could go very shallow with that.
10 Commandments.
I don't know. I feel like a lot of those commandments need asterisks.
Okay. Talk about it.
I think there's righteous crime. So like.
Yeah, that's true.
There is.
I was saying, I think it's weird that you use the same currency to buy food that you do to buy like a Rolex.
That's what I'm saying.
That doesn't make any sense.
No.
Money doesn't work. Like, there's no way.
Yeah, we live in a society where it's too expensive for people to be able to afford basic, things that should probably be treated as essentials or like things everybody should.
Would you steal bread to feed your
Exactly,
family?
that's what I'm saying. So like, it should. Thou shalt not steal deserves an asterisk.
Yeah.
I feel like there needs to be fewer of the thou shalt nots and more of the like,
affirmatives.
The affirmatives, fewer negatives. How you should live.
Yeah.
I would say like. I don't think there's any of them around like giving back or charity. I feel like there needs to be that.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that is lost in a lot of religious types these days.
Yeah.
They're very caught up in my journey and in my finding something. Not necessarily just like go out and try to be a good person or like help somebody. Because I feel like it's the equal trade-off.
Yeah. And I think there's a way too that going inward is a positive for people around you, or it's just navel gazing. And I think what you're getting at.
You said navel gazing?
Navel gazing is just like kind of being self-indulgent.
Like staring into your belly?
Yeah, like really into yourself.
I've never heard that.
There you go. You gotta do
it.
But, yeah, because I'm like, I think the tenets of like a good life generally are like experiencing nature, experiencing awe, being like grateful, and being like experiencing things that make you say kind of wow. Gratitude and just like embracing people like in real life. Which I think if you do those things, you end up helping people. You end up being happy. And then when you're happy Jose hating Jose happy, so then you give happiness to other people.
Yeah.
But
that makes sense.
Yeah. Have you gone on any walks lately? I was talking to Mom about your self-therapy in the pandemic, where you would just go on long walks and therapize yourself. And I will say, I used to think that was a Boulder Dash.
Yeah, you came around?
But I did kind of come around, because last time I was in therapy, I was like, I am really just paying you to talk through things that I already know the answer to.
Yeah.
So now instead of doing that, I just journal. And I find that I get to the answer by writing things down.
I was reading this thing where it's like once you're a certain level of self-aware, talk therapy doesn't really work for you. You have to do like somatic therapy or some other things. So I feel like, I went and did my few sessions of talk therapy. I let that lady talk to me like that, even though I didn't necessarily appreciate it at that price. If I'm paying you that much, you need to talk to me with some respect.
Talk to me. That's so insane.
You're not going to talk to me
but that's so wild.
Like, sure, I respect your degree, but...
But you have to respect me, too.
That's what I'm saying.
My lack of a degree as well. You're no authority.
I know I'm authority on me.
Okay, fair enough.
You know me. You've known me for 2 hours at most. You talking to me like this?
Oh gosh! Imagine if everybody thought like that. That would be maybe akin to crack making a huge comeback. Just a bunch of way too self-affirmed people roaming the streets. Ooh, yeah.
So to answer your question, I haven't been going on very many walks.
Right.
I feel like golf is where I self-therapize now.
What do you think is going to happen with this swing right here? I know you said it kind of scares you when you see it.
When I first moved in, it did. Now I kind of like it. I feel like it's like it's a vestige of an older time.
Yeah.
It's who knows? Maybe that swing was put there in commemoration of somebody. Who am I to tear it down?
Right, exactly. My last year in college, I took a class called Fictions of the Anthropocene, which I learned that word in that class. It's like, you know what it is? It's like our current age of environmental ruin at the hands of humans.
Damn.
Right. So it was a bunch of books that kind of engage with the fact that...
You said Anthropocene?
Yeah, Anthropocene.
We'll sprinkle that one on the dates.
Yeah. It was a bunch of books and essays and stuff about, that engage with, like, a future in which, the environment doesn't exist as it does now. And one of the things we read, though, was about this woman who writes specifically about California, and she was like, we need to start envisioning, like, things that humans build as parts of the natural landscape, because there will come a time when nature will overtake all of this through vines or whatever, corrosion, whatever.
Right.
And so it's not like when you see a lot of people think of LA and they're like, oh, it's like a concrete city, and there's not. But she was like, no, all this stuff now is a part of the natural landscape, and like, why not think of it too as natural and reframe it? I thought about that because you were like, who am I to tear this thing down? Like, it's part of the natural landscape at this point.
Interesting.
It was an interesting class.
Yeah, I feel like one place I really don't want to go is Petra in Jordan.
Oh yeah.
Where they have like the giant.
They etched it or they carved into the mountains.
Yeah, it's like a temple carved into a mountain.
Yeah.
And like to me, that feels more like what you're talking about than anything in LA. I feel like in LA it's kind of just I feel like we're past the point where there's any desire to do things like that. Everything now is just it has to be new.
Because it wasn't when you think about like the intention or the forethought of it, it wasn't like the environment. I think also what you're acknowledging is the environment wasn't a thought when it was built,
Exactly.
even if eventually it does become a part of the environment.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. I had something to say.
I feel like more of like the things that were like the wonders of the world were things like that.
Yeah.
Right. Like even the pyramid to me feels like that, where it's like
yeah,
the Great Pyramid,
right.
Or most pyramids even.
I feel like that was something that came to me when we were in Joshua Tree. Had a lot of revelations, as one does in the desert.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking at all that stuff, and I was like, imagine, all the natural formations, and I thought, imagine if, the land was inherited by people who could, I want to say this exactly right,
mm-hmm.
but by people who, had that forethought of, like, there will be repercussions to the things that we build, so why not work with this land to, like, build homes?
The Incans.
Yeah, if it wasn't just, like, because honestly, the thought process, I think, of, like, tech was probably pretty similar, like, the go fast and break stuff was probably pretty similar to, like, how industrialization happened and all this stuff, that, in the sense of, like, let's just do it, as opposed to let's think about the repercussions first. What do you think?
I got a hot take brewing.
Okay, do it.
And I think the reason that happened, and some people might not like this, but I think if you look at cultures where people, Anthropocene,
yes,
where that was more ingrained in how the society developed, right? Like to me, I think about like the Incan ruins in Peru,
mm-hmm.
like a lot of those societies, like those ancient societies in South America, Central America, even Native Americans, and Africa, I would say parts of Asia, but like they were building things, one based on, I think, like a deeper understanding of the Earth's math,
yeah,
and how like building tiered gardens so that like things basically fertilize downward, or that like water runs downward, is able to fertilize multiple things, right? Like I think you need to be, one, like have a certain connection with the Earth, and two, be able to be in the sun. I think when you move to a point in society where the dominant group can be in the sun, you lose sight of
the natural connection to the Earth.
Exactly. Yeah. And then it's just like, let me just build this strip mall and get this off.
Yeah.
Because I really do think that to me is like the major turning point is, wait, the people who have power can't be outside.
Yeah.
And if
I
you
think
can't
that's an excellent hot take.
If you can't be outside,
you can't till the land.
Exactly. You're not about to build something that's based on how the Earth is already like existing. You're going to build something that has to be additive to it, which makes your life easier.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's
an astute hot take.
Yeah. The downfall of the Anthropocene is the result of the white mutation.
Of the pale people.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Huh. Because even when you talked about tiered gardens, I think about how LA floods so terribly.
Yeah.
And it's because it wasn't built, number one, with the thought that there would be this many people inhabiting it, but also with the thought of like, oh, it might rain a lot one day.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of forethought.
No, it's just, how can I build this as quickly as possible in the cheapest way possible that will serve my immediate need?
That's interesting, because I feel like possibly this was a pandemic conversation I had, but as far as people who are like, we're all doomed and it's all going to end, and a friend once said to me, and I held on to it because I like it, that they were like, indigenous people have endured since the beginning of time. Like, why would you think that just because, European white people are gonna drive their society into the ground, that those indigenous people wouldn't be able to survive that? I mean, I understand, global warming and all of that, but I also wouldn't put it that. I mean, indigenous people have endured a lot.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I think you might be. I don't think anything is here to last forever. But this idea that it's all going to end, and like, I don't really believe that it's going to.
Do you think global warming is overhyped?
You're trying to catch me. You're trying to. I don't think it's overhyped. I think it's a terribly huge issue, but I think for groups that have adapted to this present society with like relatively the same system of getting by that they've had for however long before the world looked anything like this, I don't doubt that they could adapt some kind of way. Like, and I think their knowledge of the land will have a lot to do with it. But that's a borrowed take that I don't think is quite that hot. Like I don't think that everybody will go when white people go.
No chance.
Yeah.
Even like the mass, catastrophic events that have happened in the Earth's past, right? Like there's been hot periods before, there's been cold periods before. Like people have figured out ways to survive through that.
Yeah.
I think I might be off on my geological timeline, but from what I understand, there have been there's Atlantis. People think that Atlantis existed because there's clear evidence underwater that there were societies that were like well below sea level at one point, right?
Yeah.
So like if the sea level rose that much, I'm sure there was a lot of people who died during that period.
Yeah.
But people figured out a way to survive.
Right.
So
we gonna make it. A Juneteenth message.
Exactly. I think the only thing potentially that ends it all is the aliens just decide to come and they're not happy with how we've been behaving.
And hopefully they'll be selective. Hopefully they'll be like, you can stay, you can go. I will say, have you ever read any Octavia Butler?
No.
She is actually from Pasadena. Was from Pasadena. Are you familiar with her at all?
She's the black female fantasy fiction writer.
Yeah, science fiction. She won the MacArthur Genius Award. Very inspirational, amazing woman.
What's the movie that they made off her book?
They made a TV show off Kindred.
They didn't make a movie off one of her books?
They may have made a movie out of it. I just forgot.
Okay, I think I know what you're talking about.
But I feel like it's funny. I was telling somebody I read Kindred in the 6th grade, and I think that's the one that a lot of people end up reading in school. But it's the least fascinating to me once I started reading her other stuff. Because a lot of her other stuff is very gender expansive. They're different types of genders and very queer, and it's all kind of in the future. But a lot of it is we engage with aliens, and it's interesting. I think reading science fiction through the lens of a person who is not conditioned by masculinity. I think the big difference between that and a lot of dystopian or even future stuff I read or engage with from men, it was we meet aliens and they want to figure out how to live with us.
Or they want to put a probe in our butt. Have you not noticed that's a very common theme in abduction lore?
That feels very
It does. That's what I'm saying. I'm agreeing with you.
Panic.
I'm agreeing with you.
I have never.
You haven't heard that? That is probably one of the most common,
You want to probe your
yes, 100%.
That's really funny. But a lot of her books are these aliens come and we figure out how to live with them, or they're more powerful than we are, and they're you've been messing up this land, you've been hurting one another, but they impose a kind of we can live together if you are willing to, and if you're not, then I will let you live off to yourself, and it's not gonna be as good, but you have a choice. Which I'm because who is to say that it has to be that you come up against somebody and it's killing and harming.
Have you heard of the theory of the Anunnaki?
Tell me about it.
So I guess there's people who believe that across a lot of ancient societies, like Sumerian society, I want to say there may be evidence of it in Mayan culture or Aztec culture, one of the two. Mm-hmm. I think Mayan's older.
You know more about those.
But basically there are depictions of these non-human beings in what appear to be vehicles across a lot of these ancient cultures, and they're etchings.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that, and I don't know how many people actually think this, but it's something there's a lot of documentaries about it, a lot of late night conspiracy about it.
Okay.
Basically, the Anunnaki were a species not from Earth that came to Earth a long, long time ago, coexisted with humans for a little bit, like created some like intermingling, and then basically the children of the Anunnaki were what became like gods in a lot of like religious lore.
Yeah. Is it specific to a?
It's not specific to. It's a. I think it's a theory that overarches a lot of different religions.
Interesting.
But it's like it dates back to like the Sumerians. I think is the oldest one where they see it.
Interesting.
But yeah, it's very. It's. I think it's very presumptive of humans to be like, yeah, we're the only people. We're that great that these some giant 8-foot being came down and like gave us intelligence, turned us from walking on 4 limbs or 4 feet to walking upright.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's a lot of fun conspiracy out there like that. Yeah, but I definitely believe. I mean, it's not even a question at this point. I feel like NASA basically said that. It's almost impossible for there to not be other life out there.
Yeah, they released the papers and they're like, Trump hearing.
Yeah, facts.
You know? Yeah, counterculture is important. You need people to, within reason, but you need people to, like, question things.
Is counterculture the true liberalism? Is that what we actually need to counteract conservatism?
Yeah, well, I feel like we're all in agreement. It's not whatever the answer is. It's not liberalism. That's not radical enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe it is. I say progressive usually. I think but sure. If we want to say it's counterculture, that's cool too. I just think people need to ask questions and not be afraid to hear things you don't want to hear that are not harmful.
Right.
Like if it's not. Somebody who is just living life doesn't deserve to be a person or doesn't deserve rights. We can deal with hard things.
Do you think drugs are a necessary evil?
Do you think? Okay. And honestly, I don't think this is a hot take. I don't know that drugs are evil.
Agree. I don't think they are.
They're not evil.
When I say necessary evil, I mean like because society has deemed them a bad thing.
Oh yeah.
But do you feel like they're just as much a part of the human existence as a lot of other things?
As anything that gives you pleasure. As food, as music.
That's what I think. I think humans have been getting high for forever.
Yeah, within reason. Maybe that's what we leave you with. Do crack within reason.
Right.
You can become very successful.
There's another theory. I don't know if I've told you this one, that part of why humans, when we deviated from our like common ancestor with apes, part of the people who believe that the reason that happened was because we started eating psychedelic mushrooms, and it unlocked the part of our brain that allowed us to start thinking in a different way.
I believe it.
Yeah, I think it has merit.
Yeah, this can be good. So long as you remain self-aware.
Crack is whack.
Yeah, crack is whack. Remain self-aware. Know your limits.
Stay off the Fenty.
Be around people you trust. Because alcohol is legal, and it's been a terrible mark
kills
on
more
society.
people than drugs every year.
Yeah. So, do the things that are not going to kill you, and instead feel good and help you feel your feelings and think better. And do them in moderation.
Exactly.
Amazing. Happy Juneteenth. Thanks for hanging with us. Until next time. In my trauma.